You saw the state governors who have come also to support, the election that took place on Saturday. Meanwhile, of course, you also saw that the certificate had been handed over to the local government, chairman, the new elected officials. Would you say this met standards of, credibility and transparency? I think we should start from that.
Well, I wouldn't call what happened on Saturday an election, because when we use the concept of elections to classify this kinds of activities, we make a mockery of electoral democracy. And what happened on Saturday is just a reaffirmation, but not just a reaffirmation, but it's just an extension of what we have seen since the Supreme Court issued the judgment on local government financial autonomy, that virtually all the local government elections conducted in the last 17 months have fallen short of democratic standards for elections. And at Naija Africa, our conclusion is that these elections are a travesty of electoral democracy. And what happened in Osun yesterday cannot be considered or classified elections for a couple of reasons. You cannot say it's an election where the rules for conducting that election were not complied with. You cannot say that's an election where elections did not hold in a substantial number of polling stations. We worked closely with JDPMC, the Justice Development and Peace Center of the Catholic Secretariat, and they had to pull out of observing the elections because of the not just irregularity, but the fact that the election does not in any way meet any standard. So we should not call this an election, including previous elections that have held. And we've said this again and again, that virtually most of those local government elections did not meet the integrity test, and they fall short of democratic standards of election. And to that extent, they are a travesty.
We had a representative of the APC here on the news night yesterday, and he said that the APC boycotted, the elections on the basis of the appeal court's ruling. But the PDP claims that it proceeded with this election on the basis of the court ruling, the latest court ruling on Friday. How do you address these two opposing stances?
Well, it's not the first time that a party is boycotting the elections. In fact, boycott has been a cardinal feature of local government elections in the last couple of years. And if you look at other states where the APC is governing, the PDP has also boycotted. So it just appears there's a grand conspiracy by the political class. And there's some arrangement, I must say from the indicators, it appears there's some arrangement between, political actors in those states, that if a ruling party, the governing party in a particular state, should win all the local council seats, including the councillorship seat. There are only about 2 or 3 states where they are outliers, where we've seen allocation of votes to the smaller parties. So all of this, whether boycott or no boycott, it's just, it's an extension of the trend. This is the practice as of today when it comes to local government elections. It's a practice. So I wouldn't say that this is peculiar to Osun. In Kaduna State, the PDP also boycotted the elections, the local government in Kaduna State. We've also seen similar situation in Rivers and in a couple of states. It's just this is just, the practice in the playbook of those who are either contesting or superintending over local government elections. And it's just sad for our democracy, because when you look across board, we cannot maximize the utility of the judgment of the Supreme Court on local government financial autonomy if we don't sanitize the conduct of local government elections. And this is why Naija Africa and other civil society organizations have advocated for local government election reform in such a way that you insulate the state independent electoral commissions from this overbearing influence of the governors. You cannot have a former political party leader, one who has served in government, and appoint them as chairs of the state independent electoral commissions. What do you expect? So there's a great need to protect this operational and financial independence of the state independent electoral commission, now that the National Assembly is undergoing the constitutional review process.
Yes, you just mentioned the issue of local government autonomy, and how well have we really explored that autonomy? And you also talked about the fact that we need to start talking about reforms. So if you were to recommend in terms of reforms, what would that be? What would your recommendation be to improve Nigeria's local government elections? And perhaps to also crown it up, maybe getting past the legal issues, tensions that led up to the election, because you have said what held yesterday was not supposed to be. How do we get past that and perhaps have a fresh election? Is that a conversation now, or are we going to see other legal issues springing up from this development?
I think there are 4 things that needs to be done. I think our politicians need to respect the will of the people. They need to respect the rule of law. We have a political class. Majority of them prefer to secure power at all costs and not respect the Constitution or our laws. That's one. The second, I've mentioned that the Constitution needs to be amended to confer operational independence. As of today, what the Constitution says is that the operational powers, the operational independence of the State Independent Electoral Commission is subject to the approval of the governor. In the case of INEC, that's not the case. Therefore, the Constitution should be amended, give the State Independent Electoral Commissions operational independence, also give them financial independence. And thirdly, is the need to strengthen capacities at the local government level and at the states. There is great need to empower the State Independent Electoral Commissions with the requisite skill that they need to conduct elections. And then the fourth thing, that needs to be done, there is great need to protect, one, the tenure of local government officials. And even though the Electoral Act makes some provisions, but I think the Constitution, needs to make it clear that they shall serve for either 3 or 4 years, but also protect the State Independent Electoral Commissions in such a way that they cannot be dissolved, they cannot be removed from office without following laid down rules. Because what you currently have, where governors are appointing party loyalists, where governors are appointing their cronies into state electoral commissions, there's no way we should expect credible elections when they are superintended over partisan individuals.